Hello everyone, I'm Marc Brunet and welcome to my series on world building. Here we're developing the world of Chroma Island. In this episode, we're finally going to take a look at a new race, the Blue People. More specifically, the Cerulean Tribe of Chroma Island. Let's check them out. Alright, so for this episode, we're going to be in the water. So as you probably guessed, the Blue People live in the water. They are sea creatures, and they're going to be pretty much located all around of Chroma Island. In a sense, very similar to the Green People and how the Green People, occupy most of the coast of the island. So this episode is going to be kind of split in two different parts. The first one will be their background story, a little bit more, kind of the context, how they live their life and the overall reason for their existence. And then we'll move on to their actual design and trying to look at the different choices that I made, and basically just moving from theory and background story to an actual concept, right? So what it actually looks like. So beginning with their background story, this is a race that I've been working on for a long time, not necessarily working on, but I've been thinking about for a very long time at this point, probably like 2 months, maybe more, which is why, it took a while for me to actually make this video, because I really wanted to create something that I'm happy about, something that I didn't want to rush. And I'm pretty happy with what I have so far, so here we go. When I start working on a new race like this, something that doesn't exist really, I always try to start with of course, a background story, but start with the biggest, most impactful aspects of their life. The kind of things that are going to define their look, very similar to kind of us, right? So what do we eat? What does that do to impact our physique? What do we need to do on a day-to-day basis? Do we need to run a lot? Do we just sit down on the computer? Are we hunters? And then of course, something that impacts us a lot is how we're born, kind of our reproduction system. So how new people come about. And so this is what I'm going to start with here with the Blue People. And the Blue People really are going to be inspired mostly from fish in how they reproduce and how they're born. So they're going to be born out of eggs. So you need a female and a male to fertilize the eggs. And then, without going into details, because I haven't figured that out, not that it's super important anyways, but so the eggs get fertilized, and then the parents take care of the eggs until they grow bigger into baby Blue People. But there's a twist. So not everybody gets to evolve to kind of their final form, adulthood. So most of the babies will actually kind of just stop evolving after a certain point, reaching a level of consciousness maybe close to like that of a dog maybe. Yeah, I was really thinking of an insect colony, something like an ant colony, where everybody's got their jobs, right? Their jobs to do, and they do that for their entire life. So my idea was that the Blue People would have something like that. So when the babies evolve, the vast majority of them will reach that level, that kind of working class level, where they never go past that. They'll just kind of stop evolving at that point, and they will become essentially the working force of the tribe. And then only a small portion of the eggs will actually evolve past that into something that's definitely a lot more conscious, something closer to humans. So when it comes to their tasks, right? So working class, I'm thinking they do most of the grunt work required in a civilization. Something that's pretty advanced. So probably just a lot of cleaning, a lot of like moving stuff around, a lot of transportation. I'm not exactly sure yet, but basically all the tasks that the others don't want to do. And the one thing that I really did not want it to be like is slavery. So I didn't want the inferior, quote unquote, Blue People to be inferior to the other ones. They're just really part of the community. Everybody takes really good care of them. Like they get compensated for their work. They're well fed. They're provided with place to live, with some sort of entertainment, whatever that might be like at that level. So they're definitely not like slaves here. They don't have to do anything. They just do it because they're told to do things, and they just go. They're kind of like machines, or kind of like just ant colonies, or like a bee colony, where everybody is just kind of doing their own roles, not asking any questions, and kind of just happy to do their part. Now, the blue people, they live underwater and they live underwater only. So they really can't walk. So they don't have legs, as you can see here, and they have gills. And so this means that they can't breathe outside of the water, and they certainly can't walk outside. But it also means that they are fully adapted for life underwater, which makes them pretty much the strongest race there is underwater. So if a poor red person happens to fall in the water, they're gonna have a really bad day. This is also kind of the first clues that I have as to what their design is going to look like. So thinking about creatures that are underwater, the gills, the absence of legs, and replacing that with some sort of something, right? Either a tail or tentacles like an octopus. Those are the first design decisions that I'm making just based on my background story, and also the fact that there are males and females, and some are less advanced and some others are more advanced. So in this particular episode here, I'm not going to be focusing too much on the creatures that never reach kind of full consciousness, so I'll leave that for maybe different episodes when I talk about their environment a little bit more. So in this episode here, we're going to focus more on the males and the females. And since we've already talked about kind of their reproductive system, now the next thing in line is kind of how they live, right? So how they're born, we figured that out. They're born as eggs, and how they die, maybe kind of how long they have until they die. And I haven't really come up with anything that different for them. So I just looked at different animals that live underwater and kind of the lifespan that they can have. So the life expectancy is probably something close to ours, maybe like 100 years old. So they don't live particularly old compared to the other races that we've seen, but what they lack in lifespan they actually make up in numbers, because there's just so many of them. And then the next thing that I wanted to think about is their diets. What do they eat? And so what do they need? Do they need tools to hunt, or do they need different characteristics to be able to collect their food? And so because of their numbers, I figured that just being completely plant-based for their diet, that might not be the most realistic, because they would just run out. All they have is this one island and the coast of it, right? So past a certain depth, just plants don't really live, and so they'd probably run out of food if that was the case. So I figured that they just feed on other creatures in the ocean primarily, and then maybe toss a salad here and there, like seaweed salad or something like that. But yeah, knowing that they are going to eat meat, that gives them facial features that are required for meat eaters. So they need sharp teeth to be able to bite down and chew meat. But it also means that if they're hunting something that's underwater, something that swims, they probably need to be really good swimmers for them as well, just like dolphins or sharks are really fast. And since they're a little bit more advanced, as people, at least the ones that reach that level in terms of intelligence, they're pretty smart, just kind of like the other races on the island so far, at least minus the white people. They probably use tools as well to help them hunt. And so again, I haven't figured that out just yet. Do they use nets? Do they use spears to catch those animals? What those animals are like, I don't know yet. We'll figure that out later. But once I figured out the diet, it was a little bit easier to create kind of like the rest of their body, meaning that they need to have a mouth, they need to have hands to be able to handle tools, they need to be really quick underwater, so they can't be maybe full of armors that is going to increase their drag. So I'm thinking of their body as more like dolphins, kind of like a really soft, slippery surface kind of. And to be honest, when it comes to their design here, having all these ideas was the easy part. The hard part was really to try to come up with something that hasn't been done before, and I think I have. So hopefully nothing like this exists, but there's been so many creatures that live underwater that have been designed so far that it was a little bit tricky to find something unique. But I think the sketch here is on the right track, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. The last thing I wanted to cover when it comes to the background story for the blue people was their purpose, right? So we know now how they live, how they're born, what they eat, their diet, but what are they all about? What's their goal, and kind of who they're friends with, maybe who they're against, who's their enemies. And so in this case, what I kind of came up with was that the blue people, since they are all around the island on the coast, they are kind of the guardian of the island from any outside intruders. So let's say some sort of monster maybe comes from the sea. They are going to be the first line of defense, and generally their purpose, because the island is their home, not the island itself but the coast, but it's their home, and so they're defending it, just like the green people are defending the coast and the forests. That's where they live, so they're trying to maintain that instead. So the blue people and the green people, I figured that they're not necessarily like chummy, but they coexist and maybe communicate and maybe help each other in some ways. Don't know yet what that might be like, but I'm definitely leaving the door open for that to be possible. In the context of Chroma Island though, they are going to be enemies with pretty much everybody else, but more immediately, at least from what we've seen so far, the red people. So the red people, I don't know if you remember the previous episodes, but they produce this kind of red sap that allows them to grow their structures out of which they live. So anyways, you can check out the previous episodes for all of that. But whatever the red people are creating is polluting the water and really impacting the blue people in a negative way. And that's been a problem ever since the red people kind of got on the island, where the blue people have been getting sick because of it. It's impacted their food supplies, and basically it's made them very hostile to the red people. Obviously, that's also something that they share with the green people. So the green people are also being hunted by the red people, and so I'm not exactly sure how all of that is going to pan out, but you can see there's definitely some sort of friction there, and there's a lot of reasons for the two races to kind of team up to try to take out the red people, or at least control their expansion. But yeah, more on that in future episodes. When it comes to their way of life, other than that, what I imagine for them is something very similar to what dwarves are, maybe the kind of fantasy worlds that we're used to, maybe in like World of Warcraft or Lord of the Rings, those kind of dwarves where they are very, very crafty. They're all about building things, massive structures. They're kind of advanced, technology wise. And to draw another parallel with dwarves, where the dwarves are kind of obsessed with riches, with gold, the blue people are obsessed with pearls. And a lot of their daily life is going to kind of rotate around that. However that ends up being like. Haven't planned it this far. But I think that kind of wraps it up for their overall background story. Oh, one last time, the Cerulean Tribe, it lives around Chroma Island, but the tribe itself is made out of a bunch of different groups. And so there's not going to be any kind of big leadership controlling the whole tribe. Instead, it's going to be a bunch of small subgroups that all kind of coexist in different areas of the coast. Because the coast varies a lot from one area to another, I figured it made a little bit more sense to kind of break them up like that, and also allows me to have maybe different looks, different specialties for each of the different subgroups. Who knows? But yeah, in their case, there's no king or queen or anything like that. Usually the groups will just form around kind of who is the biggest. Because just like fish, they can grow. They start really small. They start as eggs, but they can get pretty big. Size isn't as big of a deal underwater, and so yeah. So those subgroups are going to basically follow whoever is the strongest in the subgroup, and that usually tends to be the biggest. So there you go. For the background story, that is going to be it for now. Of course, there's a lot more to come. There's still a lot that I haven't figured out yet, but I thought that with this much, I should be able to create a cool design, at least something that is going to make sense and something that I'll be able to expand upon, in the future episodes. But anyways, now moving on to their actual design and what all those decisions are actually going to impact when it comes to their look. As you can see here, what I've come up with is kind of a hybrid between a giant squid and a human. Then they're gonna have long tentacles, well in their case not too long, kind of longer than legs, that they are going to use to swim, but also probably to grab different things, giving them a little bit more dexterity than if it was just kind of like a tail, like a fish. It also makes it so that they can probably kind of walk around in whatever structures that they build, because their legs allow them to kind of attach to different surfaces. So I thought that made the most sense. And just for a design look, I didn't want them to have too many legs, just because it's not, I don't know, I don't feel like it's aesthetic as much. And so I initially kind of opted for maybe just four legs, but then that's, I don't know, it felt a little bit too symmetrical. I don't know, I didn't think it would look as good, and so I settled on 5 5 tentacles. So maybe something that looks a little bit more like legs, but then you realize really quickly they're actually not legs, something like that. Anyway, so I don't know how that would be called, like a octopus, a pentapus, pentapus, I don't know. But yeah, overall that's what they look like. And also figured that they might attack with their heads somehow. You know, let's say they're trying to capture something, or if they don't have a weapon, you know, instead of using their fist, because using fist underwater probably not that strong. There's water resistance, and so I figured it might be cool if they had like a really strong skull so that they can headbutt other creatures. Or headbutt themselves, maybe, you know, if that's how they fight. I don't know. I thought it was a cool addition in the design. It also allowed me to have a softer surface on the head, something to match what I have on the legs as well, the front 2 legs. And it kind of made sense, you know, since they're underwater. At least made sense to me. So there's one bit of their design that was giving me a little bit of trouble, and that was I really wanted them to be able to put all their tentacles together into kind of one big lump of tentacles, so that they can somehow latch together or something like that, turning them more into a bullet shape, something that might go a little bit faster. And so when they put all of their tentacles together like that, they might be able to swim a little bit faster, more like you know, the motion of swimming like a shark, rather than how a squid would swim. So maybe they use all their tentacles maybe when they don't need to go as fast or something like that. I don't know exactly, but that's kind of what I see here. That's what we have on the right with the male, where everything is kind of together, locked together. But yeah, when it comes to their design, that's pretty much it. So in terms of male versus female, you know, as you can see here, they're pretty close. The males is just slightly different, a little bit more muscular. So maybe they're the ones that hunt, and maybe the females are the ones that are smart, that actually build things, you know, who knows. So that is going to be it for this episode. So I don't want to go in depth too much, because a lot of it I just haven't figured out. You know, if you have any suggestions or anything that you feel strongly about, that it should go in one direction versus the other, you know, let me know definitely in the comment section below. I read every single comment, and I've actually taken a lot of inspiration from the comments that you guys have posted in previous videos. So keep doing that. I really appreciate it. It's a big help. And I have to say that I'm really excited about the blue people. I haven't done a whole lot of underwater scenes in my career so far, and so I'm really excited to challenge myself there. I actually quite dig the look of the character design now. Pretty unique. I haven't seen anything like that before, and I'm already imagining a lot of really cool illustrations that I'll be able to do, you know, encounters different between the different races, actually what their civilization, what their tribe, what it looks like underwater, the different structures that they've built, the machines. I'm definitely thinking of something that's kind of grand, something that we haven't really seen before on the island with the other races. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to finishing up this character here first. And so that is going to be it for this episode. It was a lot of character design here, a lot of talking about background story and what it takes really to start the process of creating new characters. And if this is something that you want to learn how to do, if this is something that interests you, or if you just have a passion for art and would really be interested in taking the next steps towards becoming a successful artist, because it's a dope life. I don't know any other career that would make me happier than this. But anyways, if this is something that you feel might be for you, there's one thing that I would highly recommend that you check out before anything else, really. So do yourself a favor and check out my complete art education program, Art School for Digital Artists. You can find the link here in the right corner of the screen, and of course I'll put the links in the description below. I tried to build it like a real school program with a full curriculum, tackling every fundamentals that you would need, going into, you know, more simple stuff into more advanced content. It's massive, and so definitely check it out. It's already helped a number of students find jobs in art, which is freaking awesome, and that could be you. So there we go. This is going to wrap up this episode, and like I said, I have a lot of really cool ideas. You know, I love coming up with a new race like this, because it opens the door to so many more possibilities within the world of Chroma Island. And so I'm really excited here, and I have a ton of new ideas, but that is going to be for future episodes, future videos. And so if you like the content, if this inspired you somehow, giving it a big thumbs up really helps spread this video to more people that might be interested as well. And of course, if you're not subscribed yet, make sure that you do for more of these kinds of videos. And of course, make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified as soon as a new video comes out. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Really looking forward to what you think about this new race, and I'll see you guys next time.